Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KeepAtcher.com, out here today to tell you about Finnish Brutality 2024. Really grateful for the opportunity to, one, get to shoot Finnish Brutality in 2023, one of the best shooting competitions, and then get to come back in 2024. Such a rad experience. Started out initially getting into Finland, Helsinki, a little before the competition, a few days before, and then needed to actually go over to Brutality to kind of load out with some different gear. And they're like, hey, do you want us to pick you up? And I was like, sure. So what did they pick us up in? A Sisu, amazing vehicle. It's basically like a Finnish Mat V, except probably better than the Mat V. Really cool vehicle. So basically drove on city streets back over there in that. Then once at Brutality, like their headquarters, one amazing place, like a shop downstairs and all kinds of cool stuff through there. And then they actually have a bar in there, a warehouse for all their shipping, and then upstairs all their offices to include all their kind of R&D and media and everything like that. But ended up going in there and getting a couple pieces of gear I was missing to kind of round out my kit for the competition this year. Namely a shingle, like placard shingle. Everything else I kind of had from the previous year, but some of the other people were there, and yeah, they were getting kitted out too. Then before you know it was time to head up north to Lopi. There's basically a really cool shooting complex there that has continued to be improved upon a lot since last year, and that's where the range, or the competition rather, takes place. Previous year, like a bunch of the staff as well as the media squad ended up driving up there in a couple vans. This year they actually had a bus, which was amazing, just plenty of room, everyone in one spot. And of course we had to load it to include a lot of long drink and beer for everyone up there. But yeah, got that thing loaded and headed up north and went to the range. That first day we were up there, which I guess was Friday, stayed the night there, Thursday night, and then Friday was actually the staff match. So they went through and basically ran all the stages, seeing if there were any bottlenecks, any kinks that needed to get worked out. And it was really cool. Got to go around, check out a bunch of them, just kind of capturing some footage. And again, this is all the ROs going through, actually shooting the stages, so that when everyone comes competes, the ROs are there too, RO, range officer, the stages, but they already had the opportunity to shoot the match themselves, which is cool. And yeah, pretty neat walking around. Granted, there was a blind stage, which was a blind stage, so who knows what was going on there till I had my turn that next day, but yeah, cool walking around and checking everything out.
Nice.
That following morning, Saturday morning, time to kick it off. Initially with basically safety brief from Yari over kind of how everything was going to go. One thing that's really cool also is they actually have schedule posted for Saturday and Sunday with hard times when you actually start your stage, and it's true, like they're so good at staying on track, which is amazing. And all of the stages, I think 180-second part time, so 3 minutes. And yeah, it was cool. It's time to get started. Quick aside, last year, 2023, when I came, was messing around in the gym like a day or two before the match, probably like Thursday or something probably Thursday before we drove up there. Totally threw my back out. which sucked because there I was with thrown out back for the match. But I'm like, I came to Finland, so I'm going to do this thing. I am not going to do that this year. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. Like, no amount of fitness I'm going to get in the gym is going to help me in the competition in like 2 days. So definitely did not go in the gym, just walked around town with my boys, which was amazing. I got to bring them this year. And then I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm going to be fit and healthy for this competition, not because I have an expectation of doing better, just so it's more enjoyable. Sure enough, Friday night, wake up in the middle of the night, like sweating, go outside, throw up, can't sleep. I'm like, sweet, let's do this thing. So I was like, whatever, I just need to keep it together for 180 seconds at a time. And there we were, heading into stage 1. Not feeling the best. Stage 1 was pretty cool. You initially start out on top of this APC and you have a Sacco bolt-action rifle, and there's a target at around 100 yards, something like that. It's already zeroed. We go in first thing in the morning, the sun's like basically coming straight through your scope, is what it is. Get what you get. Watch some people shoot through it first, and then I'm like, all right, cool, like let's do this. Because you get one shot from the top of this APC, and then if you miss it, 60-second penalty. Penalties are steep there. Again, 180-second par time, 60-second penalty. Sure enough, below my first shot, I'm like, well, we just set the tone, whatever. Climb down this APC, grab my gun, start running, and you basically run up to this kettlebell. And then it is a series of shooting from wherever the kettlebell is, throwing it, shooting from where it lands, and ideally getting it into these different tires, which I want to say were like 10, 20-second bonus, something along those lines, however far you can get. And so, yeah, basically shot through that course. Hey. One, two, three. Hey. Well, I wasn't super stoked with how stage 1 started. That's how it started. Like, whatever, moving on. Stage 2, actually really fun. You start in the back of that Sisu, that truck I was talking about, and you initially get some hits on steel, ground your weapon, go down, and you have to cross these monkey bars. And they're basically like construction scaffolding, so they're pretty big as far as like the diameter of it. With that, definitely not super stable like just jungle gym monkey bars where you can just grab the thing. So slowed me down, but if you fall off, you have to make your trip through the minefield, which huge time penalty. And so ultimately you run through there, you end up getting over to the pistol part, draw your pistol, get hits, ground your pistol, back through, get to your rifle, get your hits, back through the monkey bars again. This time, after you get your hits with your pistol, you drop your mag and you have a high value shot. Again, 60-second penalty. I don't even remember if I made it or not. Might have missed it. Whatever. I got so many penalties in this competition. But go back through, shoot your rifle one last time, and that wraps up stage 2. It's actually a ton of fun. Then stage 3, blind stage. So no idea really what you're getting till you go in there. And it was kind of crazy. They had this like kind of distracting music by design playing the whole time, kind of like haunted house theme, and it's dark in there. And so you go in, you initially are getting some hits on steel, having to shoot through kind of this little slot. And once you do that, ground your gun and you go over and there's a dummy. And I get to it, I'm like, all right, like we need to render aid. There's already tourniquets on it and stuff. So a guy hands me some gauze, I try packing the wound. It wasn't the kind of wound you could actually pack. At least I wasn't able to get anything in there. And then they're like, hey, go back to shooting. I'm like, okay, cool, go back to shooting. And the whole center part was chaos, which I think is how it's designed. I was stuck thinking like, hey, do I actually need to do the skill? And kind of not really. Really, it was just a little bit of chaos, like care under fire, and this guy's giving you commands kind of like, hey, put pressure. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what now? What do we need to do now? Like waiting for like, how do I fix this guy? And really it was just, you're gonna be there for I think like 10 seconds or something like that. And then after that, you'd move over to the other side where you're shooting pistol. And you'd largely just kind of repeat this. And then at the end, I think there was another high value, drop your mag, and if you miss, another 60-second penalty on top of that 180-second par time. But pretty fun blind stage. Stage 4, kind of quintessential brutality stage. Pretty simple on its face. You basically start on the buzzer, you go down into this fighting position, engage steel, safe, ground your gun, grab this sandbag, not light, carry it around, basically building a fighting position next to you. Go back, get your gun, bring it over, get your hits, go back to the next one, and you basically go all the way down. So I guess starting in 1 to 3rd fighting position, and then work your way back to the 2nd and the 1st firing position. And all in 180-second par time. I missed a lot. I blame myself. I had the opportunity to zero, but we were just zeroing on steel. I probably should have just insisted like, hey, I really want to print this thing on paper and see where it is, because if you're hitting on steel, something like that at 50 yards, I mean, it's probably pretty zeroed, but if you refine your 0, 1, then you know it's always you, like Indian, not the arrow. And also that actually limits your ability to miss, in that if I'm hitting on steel and they're all right here, but I actually move my 0 to here, then if I'm sloppy and like my trigger press happens over here, I'm still hitting, if that makes sense. Whatever, I missed a bunch. I ended up actually parring out that stage. Bummer, but it happened. Next was stage 5. Might have been one of the most fun stages of, I don't know if it was the best stage of the entire event. Definitely probably the most fun stage of day 1. And fortunately, we actually ended on stage 5. Reason I say this, because man, you're getting wet. Which, quick aside, people are in my squad, like media squad, are watching people shoot through it, and they're like, I got an idea. I'm gonna roll my pants up. Cool story, bro. Anyway, stage basically starts and you have your rifle and you have to basically shoot through these designated ports on this VTAC barricade. I want to say 2 hits on each piece of steel, move through, ground your rifle, grab this really heavy ammo can, probably just full of sands, like 50 cal ammo can, and you need to traverse this tunnel. Did I mention there's water? So yeah. Boom, through this tunnel, out the other side, ground that ammo can, get your pistol, get hits on steel, ground your pistol, back through, again, hits with your rifle on steel, grab that ammo can, another trip through the tunnel, and this time after you shoot your pistol, clear out that mag, and you end up, again, low probability shot or high value shot, another 60-second penalty if you miss. Now your pistol's clear. Holster it, grab that ammo can, last time through, and back to rifle shooting to basically round it out. Honestly, that stage was just a ton of fun to shoot. And so that right there was 1 through 5 stages we shot on day 1. But what about in between? Well, I shot in the division I shot was TST, basically combat loadout. So you can go check out my whole loadout from all my gear. But yeah, basically full combat loadout. Also, breacher division, which is just, we're gonna tack on type 2 fun in between all your shooting stages. So went through all the breacher stages in between those respective shooting stages on day 1. Starting off strong, breacher stage 1, basically a body drag. There was basically like a sea bag full of sand. It was 100 kilos, so 220 pounds, and you had to get it down and then back. And I mean, kind of like tactical games type event, just the breacher stages didn't have shooting involved. Also, definitely not manicured. There's just like boulders and everything like all through the stage. It was pretty rough. Definitely fell down a couple times, and yeah, just grind that drag out and get it done. Another breacher stage we had that day was burying landmines. So there were a number of spots marked just with like painter's tape on this road, not super hard packed road, but it's definitely a packed road. And you had to bury 2 landmines 4 times. So you had an E-tool, grab your mines, run over on the clock, and bury them, get them level and completely covered. Another breacher stage. And then I think it might have been the third breacher stage that day was intel, battlefield intel. So you essentially had to run to this point and get some intel. And everyone kind of started gaming it as far as like, oh man, like, need to make sure I have my phone in my pocket for this or whatever. I specifically just didn't want to break my phone and took everything out of my pocket, so I didn't have my pin and pad I usually carry, and I also didn't have my phone. And I was like, well, let's see how I can do without kind of gaming the game. So you run down, definitely took a header on the way down. That was amazing. Got back up, fortunately I had a helmet. And then you get to the point and you're like, okay, what is it? And you read through and it's basically kind of this battle assessment, and then you sprint back and you relay as much information as you can. I think I ended up missing 2 of the 5 pieces of information. I just forgot them. Another breacher stage, I think it was stage 4, something I've never seen outside of Finland to include last year, was paratrooper burpees. So actually this time with a wind sprint in between. So basically stand straight up, arms all the way up above your head, prone out, arms straight out, again, over your head, stand back up, arms straight up over your head, lay down on your back, arms straight up over your head, wind sprint, and just repeat that for like 3 minutes or whatever it was. Just grind those things out. And then the last breacher stage of the day, I'm like, okay, cool, like a little bit less type 2 fun. Basically a grenade throw. And so you had these actually like dummy weighted hand grenades, and there were these rings respectively marked out in the field, and there were points associated with whatever or with each one. And so you took turns throwing grenades and getting your points, however many you could get. For my part, I think I got 3 in the, I think it was the 8 ring. It went, I think 4, 6, 8, 10. And I think 1 actually bounced out, but yeah, I actually did pretty good in that one, I think. Which brings us to day 2. Fortunately, nausea went away. I basically, after day 1, I was pretty beat up. I was totally beat up all day, actually. Definitely went to bed early, got up, feeling better, still not 100% by any stretch, and got after it on day 2. Again, straight out the gate, got crushed with stage 6. On this one, you start the stage, you pick up this kettlebell to carry, and there's these lights that blink, and you take a shot from each of these lights, and depending on the color of the light, you either put down the kettlebell, shoot 2-handed, or you have to hold the kettlebell and shoot 1-handed. Maybe you can set it down and shoot 1-handed, I don't remember. Either way, stage 8, my launch. There are 2 poppers and a silhouette in between. If you hit the poppers, that was 1, a 60-second penalty because you missed your target, and a 60-second penalty because you hit the popper. Keep in mind, 180-second par time. Man, can't shoot a hostage if there's no more hostages. I pretty much shot both those, and it was terrible. I missed some too. I think I timed out at the very end of it. It was terrible. Like, probably 11 minutes worth of penalties on a 3-minute stage. This is a rough stage for me. Way to start the day. Oh, and after that amazing performance, it was time for breacher stage 1, or stage 6 technically. It was first breacher stage of the day, which, awesome. Let's go drag a tire. That was rough. Not a light tire. By the time I was done, like, I was definitely done. I was smoked after that.
Good job, Adam.
But whatever, moving on, it was then time for stage 7, which was probably one of the coolest stages. Who doesn't want to shoot moving targets? And so the way this one actually started was you're inside a vehicle, and on the buzzer you gotta get your weapon, charge it, and then you had 2 balloons that you needed to shoot, basically sized would they fit inside this helmet, so head sized, and they were attached to these sticks coming up, and they were controlled on RC cars. So they're going crazy, and you need to track them and shoot them. Once you pop both those balloons or went through 30 rounds, That was like, if you burn through 30 rounds, you can move past that. But once you shot those balloons, you'd then turn, get 10 rounds on this cardboard over to your left, drop your mag, retain it, and get a high value, 60-second penalty if you miss, shot on this rifle steel. After that, get out of the vehicle, go, grab the injured person in the back, drag them to safety, and then get your rifle back up. And the way it was set up is there were 4 boxes and small steel at not terribly far. And so as soon as you stepped in the box, the timer started, and I think it was maybe a 7-second part time. I think it was 7 seconds. It was something not super generous, like you needed to do your work, but it also wasn't just 4 seconds, because again, I think there were 4 targets. So as soon as you stepped in, timer started, you had to get hits on all of them. If you didn't, you had to go to the penalty box in the middle, get your hit, and then come back to that box. So work through those 4 boxes, low probability shot or high value shot at the end, run around to the other bay and engage pistol to finish it out. Then it was time to head back over to the Field of Glory for another breacher stage. Fortunately, this one wasn't just soul crushing, it was a puzzle. So it's a blind stage, you go in, there's a puzzle, the puzzle's upside down, all the pieces are upside down, like it's upside down to you, and then you had to do things in between. So I think you started with like 10 burpees, and then it's like go, and you start flipping on pieces doing the puzzle, and then it's like touch the wall, go do that, or push up, whatever it may be. And so it was actually really, really challenging, because what would happen is whatever your task was you were working on, like it would just get wiped when you had to go do this physical thing. So after I realized that, I'm like, okay, I'm coming back to that piece. I got to come back to that piece, do push up, whatever it is, go back to that piece until you finally get it done. But pretty fun little breacher stage. Then was stage 8, where I ended up messing up my Achilles tendon. Weird. So they gave us the stage brief. Essentially what the stage was going to be is some shooting. Then you had to come, there was a role player, and if you pushed them over a line, you ended up getting a bonus. And if you got pushed back over the line, you got a penalty. Don't strike them, any of that. You need to make contact, and then we'll say go. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I get it. We don't want to hurt role players. Also in my head, like Lance Corporal Loomis, it's like, hey, get this person over this line because you just need to. And I'm like, roger that, Sergeant. So that's how that played out. Initially, you start, draw out, end up shooting into this cardboard. You had to get however many hits. You go up, and there is a dueling tree. Clear the dueling tree, ground your pistol. You had already taken off anything, sharp knives, all that stuff. Go over, make contact with the role player, and go. Things got pretty wild, and ended up getting turned around, basically like kind of like roll, judo throw this dude. That happened a couple times. Somewhere in there, my ear probe got like ripped off. Fortunately, I had the in-ear hearing protection on top of the like ops core amps, and yeah, things got pretty wild in there. Somewhere in there, I definitely totally strained my Achilles tendon. I ended up like limping through the rest of it, but it was awesome. Role players, solid guys, like it was really cool. Apparently no one except our immediate squad with some Americans had issues on that stage. I don't know. I don't know, man. Went too hard, but it happened. And then it was time for another breacher stage with my freshly strained Achilles, which was not super fun. For that breacher stage, basically started out with, I think it was 4 ammo cans, probably like 50 cal, and they were like full of sand, heavy. And you had 2 of these like cargo strap belts. And so you could do whatever you wanted. They needed to go point A to point B and then back to point A. So if you wanted to strap them together, make 2 trips, whatever, for myself, strapped them together and pretty much just limped it out. Not feeling super hot. Even though I tried so hard not to be injured this time, there it was. Fortunately, I only had 2 stages left, well, to include 2 breacher stages. Stage 9, it's actually pretty fun. It was a spinner, and so you started big heavy tire to drag, and I basically would just post on my good leg, drag it, kind of gimp step, post, drag it, get that thing down there, initially shoot the pistol spinner till you get that over, and then drag that tire back, and there's a rifle spinner, and shoot that till it goes over. Pretty fun little stage. Then wrapping up breacher, there was actually 9, not 10 stages in breacher this year, and man, I walked up to it, I limped slowly to it, and I was like, hey guys, what's the par time? Like, I don't want to just go further hurt myself if I'm just gonna par out anyway and like just wreck myself. I still have one more stage I actually need to shoot. And they're like, you could probably get through it. So I'm like, whatever, like, let's do this thing. So grounded pistol with good reason and started off on this, basically an obstacle course to include going through this like chest deep, like bog marsh little stream thing, and it was pretty crazy. It was pretty fun though. Like, I was not setting any speed records on that limping through it, but again, it was pretty fun. Then rounding out Finnish Brutality, probably one of the coolest stages, stage 10, a breaching stage. Really cool. And so it started basically kneeling down next to this car, and on the buzzer turn, get 10 hits in one cardboard, move through the other window, another 10 hits, then shoot across steel, drop your mag, high value shot, and then reach into the car. And once you reached into the car, there was a target pack, which was basically letters associated with numbers, which you needed to remember for the sequence of shooting later. I get it. One of my critiques actually with honestly any competition, because that stuff will get thrown in, is I'd rather have like a real target pack, as far as like, it could even just be an AI generated face, be like, okay, that's the one. Or descriptors like, hey, 5'7" man, black shoes, white shirt. Like, all right, roger, whatever it is, but letters and numbers. So memorize that, hand it off, grab your charge, go over to the doorway, limp as best you can, and then you hang this thing on essentially this like little hook, connect the 2 leads, make your way back over, do a little bit more shooting over and around this vehicle to include through it maybe. And once you've done that, get down and connect those leads to your detonator. After that, blow the charge, make it back through your dynamic entry, and then whatever it was, ideally get the sequence right as far as the letter and corresponding number. So you're shooting from, like, we'll say X-ray to 2 or Delta to 3, whatever it is, and go through. I'm pretty sure I got one of those wrong, but still a really fun stage. Then wrapping up, everyone finishing shooting. So by the way, it was basically staggered. So when we shot, we'll say stage 1 on day 1, 1 hour later, the squad behind us came and shot that. And there's basically, I think, 1-2 hour break in between. I can't remember. Enough room though for you to go get your breacher stage in before you made it to your next stage and just rotate through. So as everyone rounded out, finishing shooting all of the stages, then got together back at the lodge and award ceremony. Pretty cool. Yari up there talking through and yeah, recognizing those deemed worthy of recognizing. After they acknowledged all of the winners of basically all your different divisions, to include, I can't remember the name of the division, basically it was themed. So whatever you want to dress up as. There was actually some bank robbers there that were all kind of like get up like Heat, which was actually really cool. Another person there was dressed up as a NYPD like SWAT, to include MP5, like the whole uniform. It was pretty cool, really well done. And then Buddy over there actually won that division. Christopher, giant like Adonis Swede of a man, and from Sweden, dressed in basically the Swedish, like old Swedish military uniform, all the gear, rifle, all of it. Pretty impressive to watch him actually shoot with that stuff too.
Nice job. Yes, let's go.
And then we got to the prize table. And there's a couple things I will say that make Finnish Brutality like one of the best shooting competitions. One of which is just the stage design, like really well done. Keeping in mind like things I like. One, like fun shooting stages, which those were all fun as far as target engagement, and it's not like some places where it's like, hey, 5 standing, 5 kneeling, 5 like, they're fun, they're not boring. And with that, some sort of physical challenge that actually like relates to something like largely combat related. Really fun match, which is amazing. The other part that makes it though is the people. Part of what makes that is a lottery prize table. So there's no sponsored shooters showing up to go take this Swarovski optic, even though they're sponsored by Night Force, so they can sell it on Sniper's Hide and go make some cash. Like, there isn't that. It's just a lottery. And so people show up because they want to come show up and have fun. Keep in mind, that doesn't mean isn't stiff competition. One, I think the match was actually probably more difficult this year, and I think there were probably just higher caliber shooters this year as well. Like, it was pretty impressive. There's some like nationally ranked shooters at this match, and so in other disciplines. And with that, I just buried myself in penalties. So as far as where'd that play out for me, last year I think I came in like 10th overall, something like that, which I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, out of, I don't know, 100, 150 people. This year, biggest it's ever been, I think they had like 250 people. I came in like 98th. I mean, minutes and minutes and minutes of penalties. Like, I got crushed, but it happened. But again, going back to that prize table, really cool prize table. I think there was like Schmidt and Bender on the prize table, some silencer, all kinds of cool stuff. But it's a lottery. So regardless of where you came in, like, you might be the first person through the prize table. And yeah, everyone got rad prizes. Here's what I ended up actually getting. I asked my boys, I'm like, which prize pack should we get? And they're like, that one, because it had beef jerky in it. So we ended up getting that one, and it also had a pillow from Corinthia in there, like a camp pillow. Also had some iPro in there, a double mag pouch, and a survival blanket. Pretty sweet. Also, with respect to any of the shooting stages, if you want, there's links throughout here. You can go watch the stage in its entirety, to include all my amazing misses or hits when I end up shooting no shoots. And there's also a video link to pretty much all the breacher stages. I think it's broken into day 1 and day 2, but if you want to check those out. Should you have the opportunity to go to Finnish Brutality, I would encourage you to, because I get it. It's a big ass one, travel, everything like that. Not to mention, unfortunately, the tickets, they drop at a couple different times and they usually sell out like insanely fast. But hands down, one of the most amazing shooting competitions. And yeah, rad time out there. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.